Oh, hello, hello, and good day. I am betrayal trauma practitioner Jay, and I always like to start my classes off with a nice, funny, corny dad joke. And today's is this. How can you tell the difference between a boy ant and a girl ant? Well, if you put them both in water and the girl sinks, then the other one is boy ant. But bum. If you can take two deep healing breaths with me, in through the nose, out through the mouth, preferably with your eyes closed, but however you feel most safest. And one more time. Today, I'm going to be discussing some of the common mistakes right after D-Day or a discovery day. And what that is okay, you found your spouse, your partner, your significant other, had a secret life, adultery, cheated, infidelity, what have you. And you're either working on reconciling and rebuilding or you're contemplating it. Here are some mistakes, some bad decisions that we should really stay away from. Number one, when you discover, and whether you're watching this and you stepped out of the relationship or you're the one who was betrayed, this is good information to share with one another, to keep in your toolbox for the future, what have you. Sometimes I'm going to be speaking to you as the person who was betrayed, and sometimes I may be speaking to the person who stepped out of the relationship and broke trust. Right now, let me just say, if you're watching this and you're the person who broke trust in the relationship and you had an affair, you absolutely, without question, have to end the affair. There's just not even two ways about this. You probably have to put this as a number one. Um, that's a disaster. Unfortunately, it's a blunder that many people make. There isn't usually a whole lot to say other than ending the affair and any contact whatsoever if you're looking to save your primary relationship is a must. There can be no recovery or healing unless you put a stop to the affair. And I'm talking wipe them out of your consciousness and out of, well, you can't, out of your life and your history. You must end things immediately and preferably with your partner or your spouse on the phone, CC'd to an email, that the relationship is done. It was never really a relationship. I mean, I guess in the definition of a relationship, it was, but it should have never occurred. And everything stops immediately. And like I said, preferably with your significant other, your spouse, your partner, CC to the email, on the phone. Hopefully they're not going to go ballistic and lose their mind and A, B, and C. But really, they should be a part of that ending because this is, quote, your new beginning. And part of your new beginning is to kill off the past. Um, Number one, obviously, this goes without saying, being abusive or violent or threatening in any way, hands down, period, end of discussion. Now, here's where I'm going to get myself in trouble. If you're the one whose trust was broke, so you discovered your spouse, partner, significant other had an affair and lived a secret life, and you just found this out, immediately following D-Day, you are going to experience rage. And when I mean rage, rage you never thought you had within you. Rage that'll probably scare you at times. I'm talking suicidal, homicidal rage. Now, so because of that, there may be times you physically aggress towards your partner, your spouse, your significant other, because you don't know what to do with this profound anger, this rage. I will never condone that. I will never like it. I will never say it's acceptable. Does it happen? It does. And I wouldn't necessarily recommend somebody leave if they ever do that, or vice versa, unless it becomes normalized. If 3 months, 4, 6, 8, 12 months after D-Day, there's still physical violence going on, no. I mean, there shouldn't be any, period. But it does happen. You find out that, you had secrets and lies in your marriage for 20 years. You might aggressive against your spouse. It happens. I don't like it. I don't, recommend it. I don't support it. But it does happen because there's rage, and so it can't continue. Period. But I don't recommend, you know, anybody stopping the relationship, because that is a reaction. That is I don't want to say response. So we're all adults here. Let's leave it as that. Not a good thing, but does happen. Let's not throw out the baby with the bathwater. Okay. The next thing that people do is continued lying. Now, slow disclosures and trickle truth may unfortunately be a part of the initial process of journey that you're on. But again, similar to above, if it becomes normalized, then healing is impossible. And I mean lying about anything. So if you say you're going to pick up milk after work and you don't, your partner, especially if you betrayed them, to them, you may as well have had another affair. If you tell your partner who just found out that you had an affair, or you were sexually acting out or emotionally invested in somebody else, and you tell them, when I leave the bathroom, I'm going to put the toilet seat down, I promise, and they walk in the bathroom and the toilet seat's not down, you might as well have another affair. You cannot lie about anything. And if you can't keep your words, then don't say things that you can't keep. If you're not going to buy milk after work and bring it home, say, to the best of my ability, I'll try to. No guarantee. I mean, you just can't. You cannot lie, Siri, about anything. You just can't. Um, the next mistake people say, and Lord have mercy, I hear this all the time, is you can trust me. um, and certainly not saying that and thinking it's enough. Bottom line, behavior is a language, okay? Behavior is a language. So you don't try to right the wrong of a physical behavior with a verbal language, with a verbal behavior. Just doesn't work. The unfaithful partner has to show their spouse that they're with their actions that they deserve to be trusted. And this is something that happens consistently and over time. Words are pretty much meaningless initially. Meaningless initially. So even saying I'm sorry, but I'll get into that a little bit later. The person who stepped out needs to be consistent in what they do and follow through on all the things they said until um you are acting consistently remorseful, you are acting in a loving and trusting manner. There's no way trust can be reestablished. There's not. And if a relationship is established, then it's a relationship built on marsh and sinking sand. So, just keep that in mind. The next thing that's gets people in trouble all the time is being defensive. You just cannot be defensive afterwards. This can actually cover a wide range of scenarios. It can range from being defensive and or minimizing some of your behavior, being defensive about divulging affair details, being defensive about having excuses, which I'll get into a little bit later. Excuses are external. Like I said, I'll get into that a little bit later. Nobody enjoys admitting that they're wrong. I mean, Lord knows, ever since we're younger, we don't want to admit our hand was in the candy bowl or candy jar. We don't want to admit we made wrong decisions as adult, especially when, we have careers and we're professionals, and, our tails between our teeth. Yeah, I made a bad decision or mistake or whatever you want to call whatever you did. Um, but nobody wants to look weak. But when it comes to breaking trust, he or she, whoever it did, needs to take personal responsibility for what they've done, hands down. They have to be accountable and certainly vow to search for the answers, as for why they did what they did. There should be no defensiveness, none. I mean, does it happen? Sure, just like a lot of other things happen, but you cannot normalize this, and it should really, 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 you got to be mindful, no defensiveness. Um, I'm going to give you another one that's, man, a reconciliation killer, and that's blaming the betrayed spouse for the affair. Your spouse could have cheated on you, beat you over the head with a frying pan every other Tuesday, call you names, and threw your wedding ring in the trash. However, you had many options. You had, there was many options, from leaving to divorcing to seeking therapy to having conversations. I mean, you had many, many options. Choosing to step out, you chose the most hurtful one, and you must take full and complete responsibility for the choice that you made, period. Unless your partner or spouse held a gun to your head and said, cheat on me, it's your choice. And you have to take responsibility for that. All right. The next thing is failure to remove excuses. So basically, as a rule of thumb, I say excuses are external, reasons are internal. For an example, an excuse could be like, you weren't paying attention to me, you weren't giving me sex, and this other person at work, showed interest in me. Those are excuses because it's all external. Reasons, which are still not good, but reasons are internal. Because of my developmental trauma and the poor coping mechanisms I had as a teen. Unfortunately, I brought addiction into our marriage. I didn't have the courage to share with you, and my wounds made decisions that made me vulnerable for my secretary, blah, 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 blah. Do you see how there was no you in that at all? It was all me, myself, and I. Um, Now, again, having said that, I always say you may have reasons, but that doesn't necessarily give you the right. So, excuses, absolutely not. Reasons are good, but again, just because we have the reason doesn't mean we have the right. Another rebuilding, reconciliation, forgiveness killer is any defending of the affair partner. Lord have mercy. Don't. Just don't. I don't care what your spouse calls them, the names they've named them, how they talk about them. Defending the AP will never work for you, period. I'm going to move on because there's nothing more to say. Do not defend the affair partner. All right. Next mistake is pointing out your spouse's deficiencies. Every marriage on the planet, I've been married going on 23 years, you know, well, I'm perfect. No, I'm just kidding. No, listen, every marriage has problems and issues. And we're tall boys and girls, and we come into this world on a slate, and our parents wounds and their trauma puts that stuff on our plate, and this is how we're raised. There's no such thing as a perfect human being, which, by the way, side note, and I shouldn't even do a side note, if you're a parent and you made some really bad decisions with your children, some egregious decisions with your children, that's fine. Because listen, you cannot raise perfect children and expect them to live in an imperfect world. Fine. No, that just doesn't jive. But again, I digress. Okay. Long bottom line, there'll be plenty of time to work on the marriage issues once the crisis of the infidelity has been controlled. This is not a time to say, well, you did this and you did that, and you never wash the dishes, and you never take care of our son and change his diapers, and you never, go to our daughter's soccer games and all this other stuff. And I just, started doing A, B, and C. Lord have mercy. No, no. There's all kinds of time to deal with the marriage garden. Right now, we need to deal with the broken trust garden. Another mistake is not showing remorse. I mean, breaking trust in your relationship is not something that can be swept under the rug, despite the fact that you think, okay, as long as I don't talk about it, we don't bring it up, we'll just let time zero. No, 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 no. Actually, if anything, that's offensive and a slap in the face not to bring it up, and not show remorse. Many I have worked with stated the biggest factor in the decision to stay and want to work on the relationship and marriage is because their spouse, their partner showed genuine remorse. It's that important. Whatever your partner or spouse needs from you, prove to them, whatever they need to prove to them that you regret your decisions and you're remorseful, do. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be imprisoned for the rest of your life, but if they need something to see that you're remorseful, my God, just do it. Simple. All right. Similar to what I was saying before, things not to tell your partner. Do not tell your partner, just get over it, or it's time to move on, or it's been so and so. It's been 6 weeks, it's been 8 weeks, it's been 4 months. or you're overreacting. Lord have mercy. I was in a session one time, and one partner said to the other, "You're just overreacting." And World War 14 broke out. It was like, so put it this way: if you have a death wish, say things like that. Okay. The next one is lack of awareness or showing any lack of sensitivity when your partner is suffering with a trigger. So when a betrayed spouse suffers from the effects of a trigger, it could be like experience D-Day all over again. The one who broke trust needs to be sympathetic, very sympathetic to these triggers and the effects that these triggers have. Ideally, the unfaithful would actually be aware of the triggers and anticipate them. So, for example, if the betrayed spouse knew that the affair was conducted in a local hotel, then the person who stepped out should really stay clear of driving down streets where that hotel is. Because, or same thing, let's just say an affair took place around the Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day is going to be a very, very, very hot, sensitive time of the year. So just being cognizant of that, being mindful. Not talking or answering questions about the affair. That's another no-no. I mean, you really have to make time to be receptive and open without defensiveness to talk about how you broke trust in the relationship. Bottom line, the betrayed person has questions. Questions. Woo, questions. Lots of questions. And by the way, questions might be the same exact question might be asked dozens of times. And that's for different reasons. It's not trying to annoy you or poke you or whatever, frustrate you. It's because first, maybe they're trying to understand. Next, they're trying to confirm. Next, they're trying to clarify. Next, they're trying to heal. So they might ask you the same question week after week, month after month, but they're asking for different reasons. As the brain, which is malleable, so it will heal once it feels safe. Once the brain goes into a different phase, it might have the same exact question just for a different reason. The one who broke trust must oblige their spouse and answer the questions their spouse needs answered honestly and as calmly as possible. This will only help to move the recovery process forward. Not acknowledging the depth of pain the affair caused. This is kind of piggybacking on the other one. Bottom line, you can't get into your car, hit your spouse going 80 miles per hour, and then visit them in the critical care unit of the hospital and start talking about your day at work. Like, huh? No. They need to hear, listen, holy cow, I see the damage I did, and I don't feel good about it. And I'm working hard to right my wrong. Don't minimize and all that other stuff. Another mistake is not educating yourself on all kinds of stuff from why you got into the affair, why you sexually acted out, why do you have an addiction, why do you have enmeshment issues, why do you have trauma bonds, why do you have a codependency, why do you, whatever the case is. And also, it would help to learn about betrayal trauma because now you'll understand not only why you did what you did, but also what your partner's going through. Um, and the last thing that I want to say is this: demanding or even asking for forgiveness. One should not demand forgiveness or even ask for it. Now, you might be looking at me like, huh, you can't ask for forgiveness? No, no. The overarching mindset that you should have should be I will work hard on earning trust. And if and when you decide to forgive me, I will certainly appreciate that kind gesture and not take advantage of it. So you can't ask for something that you don't have the right to ask for if you didn't earn it. So instead, use your behavior to earn it, and then your behavior will warrant it. And then your partner will say, you know what? I do forgive you for what you did. Um, uh, and I don't want to get into more about forgiveness, but we should not demand, we should not even ask for it. If you want to inquire at some point, 6 months down the road, 8 months down the road, 2 years down the road, hey, where are you on the forgiveness thing? Is there anything I can do to help, the journey to forgive? Sure, certainly, but you don't ask or demand for forgiveness in any way, shape, or form. That's something that's earned through behavior. Let your behavior ask for you instead of it you asking verbally. I hope you got something out of this class. I know I kind of talked fast. There was a lot of content, a lot of material. Never hesitate to reach out to me for any reason. And I wish you a wonderful, good, and blessed day.